Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Progressive Web Application Tutorials. Today I'm going to tell you about service workers. So what are service workers? It is one of the most important part of a progressive web application, because without this the overall charm of the progressive web application is not going to get or accessed. Okay, so with the help of service workers we can do a lot of things, and with the help of service workers we can be able to intercept our requests and responses that our client sends to the server, and the server sends back the responses. Okay, so in today's lecture I'm going to tell you about service workers. So let's start. So let's first discuss the background story, what is happening at the backend when we are dealing with the web applications. So let's have a look that this is the client and this is the server, let's say. Now what will happen, the client asks for something, that is the request, and the server then responds with the requested thing. Now what will happen, where is the service worker then? The service worker is in the middle point or in between. So what will happen, the service worker will get all the requests and all the responses, and it will look after all the requests and all the responses in simple words. Okay, and one more thing, when the server request and when we perform request and response operation, so what will happen, all the JavaScripts, all the related files are tightly coupled with the web page that has been asked by the client. Okay, but service worker, what is a service worker? It's a JavaScript file basically. So this service worker is not tightly coupled with all the things that are requested. Instead, this is utilized by the browser, and this service worker will use the request and responses, and even it can intercept the requests and responses based on the things that we have configured in it. So basically a service worker is a JavaScript file that I will let you know in a while that how can we create that and how the browser will see that service worker. And the service worker is doing what? It is intercepting the requests, or you can say manipulating the requests and responses that we are sending and that we are receiving. I hope it is clear to everyone. So service worker is running on an individual thread rather than running with all the threads with the thread that is being utilized for the request and for the response. Okay, so service workers are individual element that are not the part of the application, but plays an important role in the application in order to get the application or access the application offline, and there are so many other things that we can be able to do with the help of the service workers. So I hope you have understood what are service workers and why we are using service workers, and what are the benefits of it. Okay, so let's have a practical implementation of service workers, that how can we create a service worker. Let's go. Alright guys, so this is our directory structure. So here in the root directory I'm going to create a new file with the name sw.js, that means service worker.js. okay, and keep in mind we cannot access service worker directly, we have to access service worker with the help of another custom file of the JavaScript that we should create. So let's click inside the scripts folder and right click and create a file with the name, let's say abc.js. okay, so here inside this, with the help of this file, we can be able to access or install the service workers. So because service workers are independent components, they don't have any dependencies, so we use this abc file, a JavaScript file, in order to access our service worker, in order to install our service worker within the browser. So the service workers are the things that every browser nowadays has the feature of this, okay, service workers, but you can check it which browser supports service workers and which browser is not, but hopefully most of the latest browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, latest versions are capable of doing and supporting the service workers. I hope it is clear to everyone, but do check it by yourself. But let's write inside abc. First of all we have to check whether the browser supports the service worker or not. For that purpose, let's specify an if condition inside the app.abc.js file and come inside. Here let's write inside single quotes service worker. That is the object that the browser can have if service worker in navigator. So what is this navigator? Navigator means the browser. Okay, so if the browser contains service worker, then come inside and register the service worker by specifying the navigator object dot service worker, that is the property that I have used, dot register. So with the help of this, we can register our service worker within the app and the browser. So for registering inside browser, we have to specify our service worker, that is /sw.js. So this is our service worker installed in the root directory. So why I have created this in the root directory? Because guys, the scope of the service worker should be global, so that it can access all the files within the root directory and the subdirectories. Okay, so if you put this inside a folder, let's say if I put it inside the scripts folder, then the scope of this service worker will be restricted to the scripts folder. I hope it is clear to everyone. So that's why it's a must be taken step, that is a mandatory step. You have to make it out in the root directory. So this is how we can register our service worker. Simple. So if the service worker gets registered, then it's a promise. We can use then keyword. So what's a promise? Promise is a JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript syntax, and with the help of the promise, we can be able to see, or it's like the pipeline characters, or the pipeline feature, or the concept. So if the service worker is registered, then what we have to do, we have to specify something. What we have to specify, let's create a function, callback function, and goes to function, or you can simply write here console dot log and specify a message, service worker registered. Simple. So we'll see, it will give us a message if the service worker will register successfully. But what if the service worker will not register successfully? Then we have another callback function, that is the catch, and it's a promise syntax, guys, that dot then dot catch. So we are creating a sequence. So instead of this, let's write here error, that is err, that will be the variable that will return. Let me make it on a separate line. Okay, so dot catch, and right here console dot log, and then we have to specify unable to install service worker. Okay, and similarly we have to specify the error that the browser will generate. So we have to specify this as a parameter, and similarly if it is registered successfully, then display that EVT parameter. Okay, so whatever the result will return, it will come inside EVT, and then I have written here as a parameter. So this is the way we can specify the promise syntax. Promise syntax means the sequencing or the pipelining. So that's my first action that will execute, and after that, that's my second action that will execute. If the error occurred, then this action will execute instead of this one. I hope it is clear to everyone. So now let's try to add this abc.js inside our home, because everything should be linked. So let's go back at the bottom, because we have our scripts at the bottom. So let's write here script and source and abc.js. Now save it, and now let's go back to the browser and open our application. Right click, open with live server. So you see the app is as per normal, but when we inspect, right click and inspect, you see these are the elements, and when I click on the console, it seems that there is a problem with something. Let me check. But let's go back to the application and see service workers. Do we have service workers? No, we don't have any service workers yet. Let's first resolve these problems. Okay, so the problem is with the path, because my ABC script is inside my scripts folder, and then we have abc.js. That's fine. That was my mistake. So now let's go back and see. Now when I'm in the console, it is telling me that service worker has been registered successfully. And when I go on the application, and after manifest we have created in the previous lectures, when I click on the service workers, you see the sw.js file is received and it is activated and running. But you notice here there are links that are update and register. Okay, so this is a very important part, guys. Now you see, when I change anything in my home, let me write here a p tag hello and save and come here. So you see the hello is written, or when I change here inside my sw.js or when I change my sw.js, then what will happen, the previous sw.js or the service worker will still running. So we have to update that new version of the sw.js, but that's a later on thing. I'll let you know in the next lecture, but hopefully you have understood how to create service worker and how to register a service worker inside your web browser, and it will be activated and running. I hope it is clear to everyone. So do try this by yourself. In the next lecture we will see how what is the life cycle and how service workers different events are activated and executed on different actions. So see you in the next lecture. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.